There are moments in life when the weight on your shoulders feels unbearable, when every breath feels heavy, and you wonder if you can face another sunrise. It's in that fragile moment, when everything seems lost, that everything can begin to change. Have you ever reached that point? The point where you whisper to yourself, "I can't do this anymore." Maybe you're fighting to provide for your family. Maybe you're chasing a dream that seems to slip further away the harder you run. Maybe you're just tired of trying. And that little voice inside your head says, "Let it go, it's useless. You're not made for this." But what if I told you that the very moment you feel like giving up is the exact moment your story is being rewritten? Because there's a single word from Japan, a word that helped millions rise from the ashes of despair, that gave an entire nation the courage to rebuild from nothing. That word is Ganbaru. Before you think it's just another foreign saying, stay with me. Let me share with you a story. The story of a young man whose life was transformed by that very word. Chapter 1. Kenji's story. Japan, 1947. 2 years had passed since the end of the Second World War. Cities lay in ruins, the economy had collapsed, and hunger shadowed every home. Among the survivors was a 9-year-old boy named Kenji. He lived in a small village, far from the big cities. In a humble house with his mother, his 2 younger brothers, and his grandmother. His father had died during the war. Now, Kenji was the only man left to protect them. But how could he protect anyone when he had nothing? No food, no money, no hope. Each morning, he woke to the sound of his mother hiding her quiet sobs, and his little brothers asking for food he couldn't provide. And every time he looked at them, he felt the heavy sting of failure. He worked the fields. He took whatever small jobs he could find. He tried, really tried, but no matter how much effort he gave, the world gave nothing back. One freezing morning, after being turned away from yet another farm, Kenji walked home empty-handed. He sat down in front of his small wooden house, looked up at the pale gray sky, and finally broke. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered. "I've tried. I've done everything, and it's never enough." And then, through the mist, came an old man walking along the dirt path. His clothes were simple, his hands calloused from years of labor. He stopped and looked at Kenji. "Are you all right, young man?" the old man asked. Kenji quickly wiped his tears. "Yes, sir, I'm just tired." The man gave a faint smile, the kind that comes from a lifetime of storms. "Tired or defeated?" Kenji didn't answer. The man continued, "Are you looking for work?" Kenji nodded. "I am, but no one's hiring." "Well," the man said, "I have a small carpentry workshop in the next town. It's not much, but I could use an extra pair of hands. The pay is little, but there's food, and it's honest work." A spark flickered inside Kenji. A faint light, but it was light nonetheless. "I'll do it," he said firmly. "My name's Tieda," the old man replied. "Come tomorrow morning." Chapter 2. The Lesson of Ganbaru. The next day, Kenji arrived early. The scent of wood filled the air. Tieda worked silently, carving, sanding, building. The first few days were tough. Kenji's hands bled. His muscles ached. He made mistakes again and again, but he never complained. Tieda watched quietly. He saw something in Kenji that reminded him of himself long ago. One evening, after finishing their tea, Tieda finally spoke. "Kenji, do you know what Ganbaru means?" Kenji shook his head. "It means to keep going," Tieda said softly. "To do your best, even when everything seems impossible, to stand firm when others would fall. Kenji listened quietly, though he didn't fully understand. Teyata continued, "After the war, I lost everything, my home, my family, my trade. But I chose Ganbaru. I chose to keep moving, plank by plank, day by day. And with these hands, I rebuilt my life." Kenji asked, "But what about when you just can't anymore? When it hurts too much?" Teyata smiled. "That's exactly when Ganbaru matters most. Because pain is where growth begins." Those words would stay with Kenji forever. Days turned into weeks, and Kenji began to change. His hands toughened. His work became precise. He learned to understand the wood, its rhythm, its imperfections, its life. And slowly, his hope began to return. Chapter 3. The Test. Half a year later, Teyata fell ill and needed to rest. He looked at Kenji and said, "The shop's yours for now. Can you handle it?" Kenji froze. I don't know if I can." "You can," Teyata replied. "You've already proven it." So Kenji stayed behind, alone. Suddenly, every responsibility fell on his shoulders. The clients, the orders, the quality, everything. One day, a wealthy customer placed a large order. A beautiful table, intricate and detailed. Kenji worked night after night, sweat dripping, hands trembling. He made mistakes. He fixed them. He made more. Then, one morning, he looked at the unfinished table and whispered, "I can't do this. I'm going to fail." And then, he remembered. It's in pain, Kenji, that we grow. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and kept working. When the table was finished, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. It carried his effort, his exhaustion, and his spirit. The client inspected it quietly. Then he smiled. "This is remarkable work. Who built it?" Kenji hesitated. "I did, sir." "You? You're just a boy." The man chuckled softly. "Well, young man, you have a gift. I'll recommend you to everyone I know." When the customer left, Kenji sat down on the workshop floor and cried. But this time, his tears were not from despair. They were from victory. When Teyata recovered and returned, he saw what Kenji had accomplished. "You did it, Kenji," he said proudly. Kenji smiled. "Because you taught me, Ganbaru." Teyata shook his head. "No, boy. I only showed you the path. You were the one who walked it." Over time, Kenji's work flourished. He earned enough to feed his family, repair their home, and give them the life they had once lost. He never became rich. He didn't need to. He had something far more valuable: dignity, resilience, and faith in his own strength. Chapter 4. The Science of Persistence. You might be wondering, does this kind of persistence really work? Science says yes. Researchers studying the psychology of growth have found that people who believe their abilities can improve through effort are far more likely to overcome obstacles. This mindset rewires the brain, creating new neural pathways every time we choose to keep going, instead of giving up. Pain, it turns out, is not the enemy. It's the signal that change is happening. But not all persistence is the same. Some people keep pushing without learning, and that only leads to frustration. Ganbaru isn't blind stubbornness. It's intelligent endurance. The ability to adapt, to rethink, to move forward with purpose. It's not about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. Chapter 5. Your Ganbaru moment. Now, let's bring this closer to you. What are you facing right now? Maybe you're trying to keep your family afloat. Maybe you're studying for a new career. Maybe you're building something from scratch. And it feels like no one believes in you. You're not alone. We all have our breaking points. But remember Kenji, a young man with nothing left, who found a reason to keep going. Pain is not punishment. It's part of transformation. Without struggle, there's no growth. Without resistance, no strength. Ganbaru doesn't mean being fearless. It means continuing, even when fear is screaming in your ear. It means standing up again after the world has knocked you down. It means believing that what you're doing matters, even if no one sees it yet. Kenji never became a legend, but he became the foundation of his family's survival. He left behind something priceless, a legacy of perseverance. And now, it's your turn. What legacy will you leave behind? Will you be remembered as the one who gave up, or the one who refused to quit? Here's the truth no one talks about. Even after Kenji learned the meaning of Ganbaru, he still wanted to give up every single day. The difference was, he no longer let that feeling decide his fate. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to act in spite of it. Strength isn't the lack of pain. It's the power to transform it into purpose. So when life feels unbearable, when every step feels heavier than the last, remember this word, Ganbaru. Remember Kenji. Remember the boy who had nothing except the will to continue. And that will changed everything. Your story isn't over. And it won't end with giving up. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and writing one simple word in the comments, Ganbaru. Because when you write it, you're not just typing a word, you're making a promise to yourself to endure, to grow, and to never stop believing. Thank you for watching. And remember, your story is still being written. Make sure it's one worth telling.